You are listening to the IFH Podcast Network. For more amazing filmmaking and screenwriting podcasts, just go to ifhpodcastnetwork.com.
Hey, and welcome to episode 368B, part 2 of our live coverage of the South Georgia Film Festival. This week, you'll hear from Jason Brown, director of the South Georgia Film Festival, Jackson Strickland and Jonathan Clayton from the film Oxford, A Place for Art, Christian McGill and Max Steele from the film End of Shift, and Nathan Banister, producer of the film A Place Called Home. If you missed part 1 of our coverage, make sure to go back and grab it. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you pod. Enjoy the interviews, and I'll see you in the intermission.
Pictures up. Roll sound. Roll camera.
Hi, I'm Jason Brown, the festival director of the South Georgia Film Festival. I worked, actually, when I was in college, I volunteered at the West Virginia International Film Festival. And basically, as I've seen festivals ever since then, it's whoever's willing to do the work gets a bigger piece of the pie, sort of a thing. And so I was a board member pretty quickly there. And then when I went off to graduate school, I got an assistantship to help run the Carolina Film and Video Festival in Greensboro, North Carolina. So showing films and interacting with filmmakers, that's deep in my blood, and I love it. And I'm glad we're here, and I'm glad you're here with us.
Now, it seems like one of those jobs that nobody would ever want to do. I mean, it seems like it's a constant nightmare. Is it okay? So I'm going to try and liken it to when I produce some of my projects. And something I never thought I would do is be a producer, and it's a nightmare up until the shoot, and then you're just like, oh, you just like things are going to happen, and I'm going to deal with it, and there's nothing else I can do at the moment. I'm just going to let the universe take it and me on this ride. Is it like that?
I do believe there is a level of zen that is required of this job. So it's funny like this. On Tuesday, we had 25 panelist speakers that we had planned to come. And we had 30 plus filmmakers who had already stated that they would come. And by the end of, let's say, the non-festival period, before we were actually showing a film on Thursday, both of those numbers were much lower. And there's nothing you can do about that. I mean, there are plenty of reasons why people have things come up and they don't show up. I'm certain that there are reasons that actors don't show up on set, or Crafty doesn't make it where they're supposed to. Things happen. Because, at least in my take of what a good film festival is, it's a celebration of film and the filmmakers. You just go with it, and you keep on celebrating the stuff that's here. And the folks that can't make it here, no hard feelings, because you don't know where down the line all those things are going to come back together. This. It's a small community. How many times this weekend did you I didn't know you were here? And because of that, you sort of have to just sort of, not even sort of like bite your tongue, but just sort of like, okay, it's not for today. And we're just going to keep moving.
Talk a little bit about maybe the submission process and how maybe it's grown since you've started this festival. I know that a lot of the festivals out there have just grown exponentially, just the amount of films they get. Is it the same thing here? And have you noticed just a rise in maybe quality or anything like that over the years? Any patterns you've noticed of the films coming in?
I think a good festival is like a good filmmaker in that it's about relationships. And we've been able to build good relationships in some places, and there are places where we would like to build better relationships. Having having started as a filmmaker, having gone to grad school to be a filmmaker, I think I appreciate having been on the other, sending the submission out and praying that you get in. And this is a horrible story. So as I mentioned, I ran the festival, the Carolina Film and Video Festival in Greensboro. And we were working with Without a Box at the time, and you were able to automate your submissions of, congratulations and, oh, I'm sorry. And something happened. Oh, no. Yes. And the subject header for both the congratulations and the I'm sorry were both congratulations. And I felt horrible about that. And I felt, initially I felt even worse because, Without a Box had a very vibrant message board community. So, all these filmmakers were very upset. Like, how could they tease me that I won and then I didn't win? And I fully appreciate that. And I felt horrible about it. But the other side of it is a lot of festivals now don't tell you didn't get in. They just sort of ghost you like everybody else. Like, you either got in or I don't know who you are. And I think, again, it's that relationship thing. I think if you can sort of communicate with people, it's like, look, we're trying to put on a festival. We're trying to show great films, but we're also trying to bring people to our community. And this didn't feel like a good fit for our community right now. Doesn't mean it's not a good film. It just means that it's just not a fit for this right now. And I was talking to Nathan Bach earlier, and he and I were talking about this idea of finding the grace to be able to just sort of say, I don't know everything. I don't have to have everything. I'm just in this moment right now, and I'm making the most of it and trying to appreciate it. And I think film festivals, especially, you sort of talked about, it reminds me of Hitchcock, who sort of said, you write the movie and then the filmmaking, the production is the easy part. I don't believe that's true, but I do sort of feel like you get to a point, especially with any sort of production, a festival is a production. What shows up and what's in front of the camera and who shows up on the panel and what plays through the projector. I mean, it's going to be what it's going to be. And you tried to build the best opportunity and possibilities for people, but I mean, it's going to be what it's going to be.
And you somehow managed to put a festival on during the pandemic. This is my second time here, and I appreciate you having us back. But last year we came, it was outdoors, and I'll be honest, I was nervous as all hell. But when I got here, I felt like, oh, okay, I'm not going to die, which is nice. But what's something you learned about from last year's in the pandemic to now, where, knock on wood, things are starting to trend better? And maybe future festivals, what's something you learned during this crazy time to take to the future?
I think it reaffirmed what I was talking about the relationships. And part of that is you have to take care of people. We worked really hard to be careful last year. As you said, a lot of festivals were going online, and we have an online component. It's something that we've continued because there are reasons that people like that. But at the same time, people like to be in their community, and people wanted to get out into the world. And how could we do that in a way that allowed people to feel safe? One of the things I've complained about in the last day or so is one of the things we wanted to do this year was allow for more space for more public distancing and so forth. The good part about that is I hope everybody feels safe again this year. The bad part is it feel like we have these big empty cavernous rooms, and but you have to think about that relationship. How can you work with somebody else? How can you make them feel safe to do what they need to do? And I don't know if you've ever had a film at a festival, but like, you feel very vulnerable in that moment. I've never shown a film at a festival and thought, this is great, we're all good. No matter how many times I've shown a film, I constantly feel like, oh my God, everything about me is up there, and they're going to hate me. They're going to laugh at me. And part of our job is to put people in a position where they feel comfortable and they feel safe, literally and figuratively.
All right. And just real quick, tell everyone where to find more information about the festival and yourself.
So the festival, you can go to southgeorgiafilm.com. I'm on IMDb, one of the many Jason Browns. And one of my favorite stories about that is I had a student come up to me and she said, "So you produced Uncle Drew?" And I went, "No, of course I didn't do that. IMDb says you did." Well, okay. That's not me. I feel bad for the Jason Brown that's missing a credit, but that one's not me. But the really good credit on there, and I've mentioned this a few times this weekend to people. I did a great I feel like it's a great documentary about John Sayles that's on the Criterion Blu-ray for his film Mate One. But I mentioned that to just sort of say, I met him through a film festival, and I got to meet a lot of great film people through that, and it's sort of reinforced to me this idea of sort of paying it forward and just everybody's learning in the moment. And the more we can sort of build that community, that's what we really want to do. And John Sells and Maggie Renzi sort of brought that into me. And it's something that I just want to share with anybody else that'll listen.
This episode is brought to you by Sapelo Insurance. Sapelo is Georgia's premier film insurance agency. With over 10 years of experience in commercial lines and with film industry professionals on staff, Sapelo offers you the insurance you need for your next project, including equipment, general liability, auto liability, workers' comp, guild travel, and more. Contact Sapelo when you are starting your next production. For more information, check out their website at sapeloins.com.
Hey, my name is Jonathan Clayton, and I am the producer for Oxford, A Place for Arts at the Valdosta Film Festival.
All right. My name is Jackson Strickland. I was the director on Oxford, A Place for Arts, and that film that's at the Valdosta Film Festival. Or sorry, it's South Oxford,
South Georgia.
South Georgia Film Festival. So our film, Oxford, A Place for Arts, it's about the Yoknapatawpha Arts Council. It's the arts council that's in Oxford. That it's been there for about 50 years, and they've been helping small businesses get off the ground in Oxford. And it's very much it is Oxford. It helps us, the small businesses, and it's the community. And the film is about raising awareness of that fact and helping gain notice for it, you know.
Well, so I always like to ask like the inspiration behind films, and not just oh, this would be an interesting idea. It's more this is going to be a significant part of my life, right? Every film doesn't matter how long, how short, it's going to be a huge endeavor, and actually making the thing is an ordeal. So what was the decision to focus on this? And when was the decision to like, this is the movie that we're going to make, right?
So the making of this film is pretty unique in that this is it's a student film, and it was actually the final for our class, for our documentary class. We had so everyone in the class came up and brought up several nonprofits that were in the area that we thought needed attention. And I work at the Yoknapatawpha Arts Council, so I already have invested interest in because I work there. I know the people that work there. And doing that, after that, I brought it up to the class, and we voted on what nonprofit we should do, this or that, and it eventually, the choice was very clear. We need to do one on this nonprofit in town that could use something. And it kind of went from there. And we met with Wayne, the executive director, and sort of talked with him about what he was wanting, what we were thinking we would do, and, sort of lay out like, all right, this person would be good to interview, this person would be good to interview, and arrange stuff from that. And we started on April 1st of last year, and it took about a month for the whole production. And then over the summer, we did more editing and tweaks and stuff like that.
Well, my interest really peaked for the project, like in the middle of making it. I got the opportunity to talk to like big people in Oxford, like just like their businesses, like Antonio and Wayne, and like what was her name? It was Andy and the Tea Ladies, like
Just Stevia Tea.
Just the Stevia Teas, and like getting to talk about them being passionate about their craft, and Wayne being passionate about helping these businesses like through his position, helping to help make these businesses, like give them the materials they need to grow, to be self-sustaining businesses. I felt like helping make that I was helping make a difference by bringing this to life.
Coming to film festivals is always very important for filmmakers, especially up and coming filmmakers like yourselves. I'm sure college age and et cetera. What are you hoping to get out of this, especially since you have a film here, which is always exciting, and you get to see it in front of other live human beings, which is always a different experience than watching it in your editing cave or whatever. So what do you hope to get out of this whole experience? And has it proven fruitful about meeting other people, that kind of thing?
Yes, I think that being here physically and meeting other people and talking about films and our experiences with it, I think that has been very fruitful for me personally. Just getting to talk with one another and be like, oh yeah, your film was really good, and I really liked that how you did this and that, and also just getting to learn from one another and sort of get inspired in a sense. Just like, I had never thought about doing this before, but now I'm like, I've never thought about doing this specific thing with the camera or with lights or story wise. And it's like, it's so simple, but it's really opened my eyes to, stuff I can do in the future.
I came wanting to try to help make connections with other filmmakers. And so me and Than just got finished with the panel that Than was on, and I felt that it was really good to hear from these varying skill level filmmakers, because it helped humanize them. Because I'm still really new to filmmaking, and it was really nice to kind of hear them kind of treat it more like it's people, not these amazing works they've made. I'm still talking to people, and knowing that like I might be where they're at when I'm older, and they're still saying I'm still learning, I'm still growing as a filmmaker, and they're still coming to these film festivals to learn and to grow. It really helps encourage me to accept where I am now and want to push more to be like them. And I'm still looking up to them, but it's like I'm looking up to human beings, not these idols.
Yeah, that's a great lesson to learn. I feel like I'm still learning something every day. So that's a great attitude. Well, tell everybody where to find information about the movie, maybe future film festivals we can see it at, and any other things you want to shout out, future works.
You can find the film on Vimeo. It is under the Yaknapatafa Arts Council account. We are both in film school at the University of Mississippi, and we're actually writing screenplays for our films that we're making next semester right now, and those are both really excited. I'm really excited to be making those. My handle on Instagram is @officialthan, THAN.
All my work I have just been putting on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/c/Jack T Strick, or just Jack T Strick. But and I'm also on Instagram at like Jack_T_Strick. But that's I'm just on social media. But yeah, I'm really hyped up for the screenwriting stuff, and I'm hopefully going to have that made by the end of this year, which will be hopefully a pretty big project that me and him will be able to do.
I agree. I would also like to say that you can find this festival here at the South Georgia Film Festival, but I've also submitted it to the Oxford Film Festival, which is at the end of March. It has been selected for that, and I've submitted it to a few other festivals, but nothing has come back with that yet. But the Oxford Film Festival, it will be showing there at the end of the month.
Hey, and welcome to the intermission. This is Chuck just breaking in real quick with some quick announcements. Next Monday, Film Bar Monday will take place at Midway Pub. Go there and eat, drink, and be merry with other Atlanta/Georgia filmmakers. Remember to keep those business cards tucked away in your back pocket till later, because this is just for meeting friends. Coming up next month, April 21st, The Atlanta Film Festival is headed to town. It's definitely film festival season. It should be in person, but who knows what the future holds. But hope to see you there. And I know this is 2 months away, but I want to go ahead and announce it because I'm very excited. May 10th, my feature script, 8-Bit Bloodsport, is being read live in person with an audience in front of human beings at Roll Call Theater. The cast that I have somehow assembled for this is ridiculous and has made me really count my lucky stars about the people I know in this business, in this industry, and in just friends and in Atlanta and everything. And it's nuts. I mean, there's people from, as I'm recording this, the poster for it isn't out, but you can go to Roll Call Theater's Facebook page and go ahead and like their page while you're there so you can see updates for other readings, because they have them all the time. So you shouldn't just go to mine. But mine is May 10th. Cast list is crazy. I cannot believe this. And thanks to Jono from Roll Call for arranging this. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be an 80s night. It's going to be ridiculous. It's just straight up comedy. It's about this disgraced weightlifter who joins an underground esports club, this bloodthirsty esports club. They only play Atari 2600 games and dress in the early 80s. It's completely ridiculous and it should be a blast. So it's Tuesday, May 10th. Please come on out. And again, go to the other readings. They have these a lot. There's a lot of people writing great scripts, and then you can hear them out loud and see some really cool people reading them. Some great actors. So I look forward to seeing you there. So I mentioned it's film festival season, and going to the South Georgia Film Festival was a lot of fun. I want to thank Jason for having me come down there. Still a little stressful to have things in person, but I'm slowly getting over that, I think, as things, knock on wood, continue to slowly tick up. I know things aren't perfect. Some people are pretending it is not, obviously, especially if you have some sort of disease or disability or something that autoimmune compromise, whatever. Maybe you're allergic to the vaccine like my mom is. It's still very stressful. But we'll take any good news, I guess, that things are slowly looking slightly better. It was still weird. It was weird talking to people in person at the South Georgia Film Festival. It was fun, though. It was fun actually doing it in person again. Seeing in front of an audience and everything. There were people staring at me. It was weird, but it was cool. And I really appreciate everybody at the film festival for having me come down there. And if you ever get a chance, next year, South Georgia Film Festival, I recommend going down. And I will say this every time, Sam's Carryout Barbecue. Go there. You will not regret it. I promise. So good. I want to go back. Anyway, moving on to our sponsors, Element Certified Public Accountants and Consultants. You need tax work. You need to know how production accounting works. You need some help with that. You need help starting your business and figuring out finances, that kind of thing. Some sort of consulting work. Maybe you're unaware of how the tax credits work and you really want to take advantage of them. The best place to go is Element Certified Public Accountants and Consultants. And they are hiring. Element and its sister company, Storyboard Financial Services, are hiring production accountants. They are looking for entry-level clerks and production accountants, assistants, and keys. Full-time positions include health benefits, retirement benefits, and immediate room for growth. If you're interested, please contact Element by visiting elementcpas.com. You should also visit that website if you're looking to get help with your money. I mean, working in the film industry is crazy. You don't want money issues floating around the back of your head while you're trying to line up a shot. Let them take care of it. Or if you're actually a smart person, unlike me, and you know how numbers do things, you should go work for Element and help other people figure out their life. And wouldn't that be nice? Plus, it's a great market to get a new job. Maybe you're working at a crummy old job somewhere and I really want to change. Well, why not go work for an amazing company like Element, where everybody's nice and you're technically working in the industry too? If you're like, how do I break in and meet some people? Well, here you go. You'll meet people there. And honestly, seeing the behind the scenes stuff with like number crunching, that's a huge, huge deal. Huge deal. I wish I had any sort of brain power to be able to do any of this because I would take advantage, but I do not. So your gain is my loss. My loss is your gain. Again, elementcpas.com. Element, fluent in your language. All right, I'm going to get you back to the show. Make sure you're still working on your stuff. Real quick, thanks to Ken Merritt for getting shout out option on our Patreon, patreon.com/AFC Indie Film. Head over there if you haven't checked it out. Tons of other content that is not on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. that you can only get there. And I'll see you next week. All right, y'all introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about the film that you brought to the South Georgia Film Festival.
I'm Christian McGill. I'm one of the co-directors and actors of End of Shift. I am Max Steele, and I am a co-director and the scriptwriter for End of Shift.
So End of Shift is a horror short about this guy who gets off work and is just going to his car. It's the end of his shift, and happens to come across a escaped convict. He's just trying to get to his car, and chaos ensues. Basically, it's very short, just something super quick. We decided to put it together March of last year.
I think it was January.
January? Oh my god. January of last year. I was starting to work on my capstone project to graduate college. And Max had been a couple of years out, just wanting to work on something at that point, not be working on sports at the time.
I wanted to get back into the film space.
Yeah. So I was actually in the middle of working on a esports documentary. And I was just
nice.
I wanted to do literally. I loved it to death, and it's still one of the things I absolutely love. But I wanted to do something narrative again. I hadn't done that since the pandemic had started. The pandemic actually put a lot of my narrative work on hold, so documentary is just kind of what I fell back into. It was a lot easier. There was still some stuff I wanted to talk about. End of Shift was one of those things that we just sat on a couch and we're like, we want to do something. What can we do?
Okay.
With the limited resources that we had. And that's what it came up with, and that's how I ended up being one of the actors, because I just needed...
We just needed an extra hand.
We needed an extra hand. We needed someone creepy, and boy, I've done plenty of weird things in the horror genre with our films. I've done my own where I played a Joker-esque character, super cringy, loved it to death. It was still fun to do. And then I played a cannibal for Max in one of his college productions.
And that's how we first met, and he is still here with me today.
Yeah.
Nice.
So...
Well, talk about the development of the story then. If you specifically sat down, like you said, we want to make something. What do we have? Which is a great question to ask before you do anything. Like, what physically do we have access to make a movie? So talk about the development of the story around those elements that you already possessed.
Yeah. So the story itself is fairly basic. We were just like, what can we do in a night?
Yeah.
So from there, we looked at who we had. We had our friend Evan, who is the actor, the other main actor in the film. We had our friends Amy and Zach, who we knew were great sound designers. Great for what we need. I love them to death, and I would still use them again. Our friend Caitlin, who did our makeup. So we knew we had that, and then the basic idea was what could we do in a night? So we picked a location close to campus, where we knew we could not be bothered if we went up there at 11 o'clock at night.
But somehow we were still bothered.
We were still bothered. And once we had all of the basic locations and we knew we had our crew and our cast, we knew we had the equipment. We had some equipment just from having purchased it for ourselves through needing it for different productions throughout our college career. So we just happened to have everything. We didn't need to borrow or rent anything. From there, it was just what story can we do? And it was quick. It was easy. I'd still like to do something more. I think it was a fun idea. I think it's a simple idea. I think it's a fun idea, though, that we can elaborate on and do something more than just a 2-minute or a minute and a half if you don't include any of the credits.
Right.
Idea that we can go on from there. So.
And I was really inspired. COVID obviously was a terrible thing to happen, but it put me in a position because I was actually in the middle of switching jobs. And with so much uncertainty in the world, I just decided, I want to go back to my roots. So I did a similar thing. I'm like, okay, well, what do I have? I have my small 1-bedroom apartment in Thomasville, Georgia. It's just me out here. Let me just make something. So I came up with this idea for a short film called Switch that I shot entirely by myself and, just uploaded it to YouTube. And I kind of became inspired by that. Because, it wasn't anything that was going to be groundbreaking. It wasn't going to break the internet or break the film industry. It was just something I wanted to do and something I was passionate about. And I just say, I can, regardless of, the limitations that I have, I just decided, you can go out there and you can make something with just what you have. And that really inspired me. And I told Christian about this, and we were just like, yeah, let's make something.
We were like, we're just two guys who want to make movies, regardless of the situation we're in or how good it is or the budget that we have. So that's just what we came up with. So it was really nice.
Well, talk about it. You mentioned you might expand it into something else. You use it like a proof of concept to make a feature or something.
Maybe not a feature. I'd like to maybe make it a little bit longer, maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. Do something a little bit longer, elaborate on the characters a little bit more. We actually have a couple other shorts in the works right now that we have.
Oh yeah,
that we have pre-production finished on, that we're just trying to find the time and crew and budget for.
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah.
So.
And are you using the same approach about what do we have, or are you maybe expanding out a little bit? Like, let's raise some money through something and let's go for it.
This time it'll probably be raising some money and looking at different Chitasia, I can't remember her last name. Chitasia Studio has an interrogation room that we'd like to actually use.
Oh, okay.
And actually reaching out to other people in the industry who are also doing stuff, and just trying to get up off the ground a little bit more. Don't have to be like famous or groundbreaking, but we just want to do stuff and actually be able to put money and pride and energy into it. So.
Yeah, and I mean that's exactly what film festivals and such is good for, is meeting people, and if there's anything I've learned over the years is that you don't know until you ask.
Yeah.
You think there's an impossible thing like, oh, this person will never, Josh Rubin will never come on my podcast, but if you reach out and you ask, a lot of people will say yes to things you don't think they're going to say yes to.
I'm still jealous that you had Josh Rubin on your podcast. We talked about that before this. I just want to say it directly on the podcast.
Okay.
I'm very jealous.
He's a very nice guy. His publicist did sit in on the interview just to make sure I wasn't too much of an asshole, but I tried not to be.
That's amazing.
But yeah, it just proves like you just don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you need a location, place around town. Even in Atlanta, where most of the businesses are kind of savvy, like, oh yeah, how much money you got? Yeah. There's still people that you can talk to, and they'll be like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. Well, just come on in and shoot your little movies or whatever you're doing, and then get out and just don't break anything. So yeah, it's a great lesson. Any questions before we keep going? We'll talk a little bit about actual production and lessons. Again, lessons you learned on this one that you're going to take to the future.
If I'm going to be barefoot at night at 11 o'clock in January, make sure to wear shoes even when I'm not filming.
Yeah.
I decided, because I was in costume the entire time, because we were trying to get through that, and also I was trying to direct at the same time, I was like, yeah, I'll just be in costume. I'm not going to mess it up. That was a mistake. My
going
feet
method.
Hurt.
I get
it.
Yeah,
my feet hurt. It wasn't until halfway through the shoot, because I still wasn't we didn't do any of my shots until the end.
Yeah.
That I put shoes on. I at least put sandals on, at least getting my feet off the cold concrete. That's my biggest takeaway from that. If you want to put something in more serious.
No, I mean, honestly, just protect your feet while you're on a film set. Really, that's the main lesson I took away from it. I mean, I had shoes on, so I understood, but I didn't get it in the moment.
Yeah.
I think something else I did actually take away, and this comes even into my professional job, my full-time job right now, is learning to reel people in when we're trying to film or when we're trying to do something. All of our actors and crew are friends or like my partner helped us a little bit on it. And because we were all friends, it was hard to sometimes separate when we weren't on camera, just joking around and pushing the filming off, especially when we only had so much time. And I even take that into my professional. I'm trying to take that in my professional life right now too, because I manage a GameStop, and it's hard when a lot of them are my friends, or I want to be friendly with them, but I need to learn to reel that back in and manage or be a director. And I think that's something I've had to take away from this is, as I go on and do more professional, amateur work, with actual budgets or even no budgets at all, I need to be able to learn when I can be their friend and when I need to be like, guys, I need you to stop. We need to get serious. We need to finish the shot. We need to keep moving.
Right. Yeah.
And that's something I'm having to learn because I'm fresh out of college, and that's not something I didn't have the discipline for that, and I'm having to teach myself the discipline now.
Mm-hmm. Some of that comes with as soon as money gets involved.
Yeah.
Like I'm paying you.
Yeah.
But even that is just hiring the right people.
Yep.
You just know from experience this person's going to get their job. Yeah, maybe we're having fun, but as soon as it's go time, it's go time, and the right people know that.
And we were lucky that our friends are all media students who knew that we needed to do that. But there was times where it took 10 minutes between shots before we got the next shot because we were just messing around.
Just having too much fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, we have a question.
May I ask you guys, do you guys mass media? In BSU?
Yeah, I graduated last year.
I graduated in 2019.
Yep.
2019?
Yep.
You guys look very familiar, so I have
Yeah.
a couple questions for you.
Okay.
I think we used to be classmates, I don't know. So how did you turn from like your passion as a filmmaker? How can you make benefit out of it?
Oh boy. Well, I still work for GameStop, so I haven't quite done anything with it yet, but I'm trying.
And right now, I got a full-time job, and what it came down to with me was getting a job using my degree was just throwing out applications and understanding that, hey, you're going to get rejected a lot. And especially when you're getting your first job, at least for me, some people might go out there and get their dream job on their first try. Me personally, I don't like those people, but
I've realized I've been doing a lot of freelance outside of what I do. So I think honestly just taking jobs here and there, whether they're film or marketing, just anything to help your reel and your portfolio, it's great. Even just doing separate projects on your own like we did, just to have fun. It's still something we can show. It's probably one of the, outside of like one other documentary of the last couple of years, it's probably the most proud I've been of a project. And there's still things I know I can work on with it. Like I said, I'd like to do something a little bit more with it. I think it's something fun I can do. Something I could put a little bit more time than just, hey, let's film this one night.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, just getting just the extra experience, whether it's from college or from freelance or just doing it, is my advice.
And what really also helped me was, I'm a motion graphics guy. What helped me was, okay, I might not be able to, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the artist Beeple who makes a 3D render every single day. Now, me personally, I don't have that time to do one thing every day, but I am able to consistently maybe do something once every week. So, okay, then I got to find time in my schedule to do that. And of course, my first couple of things are just going to be terrible, but I'm okay with that. If it means getting to the place where I can be proud of the work that I do, if I got to make a couple of terrible things at the start, then I'm fine with that. So it's just that consistency.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Anybody else? Any questions? Well, tell us where to find information about you guys.
After you.
I'm still having to make a lot more of the Facebook and Instagram and all that, but I actually just opened up a little business for my freelance called Sharktooth Media LLC. So once that gets off, hopefully it'll be like at Sharktooth Media. Other than that, you can probably find me in my personal life, Christian McGill or McGill C99 on basically everything. That's just my tag. So if you want to try there, you can even watch the film in some of Max's stuff. So if Max, you want to go.
Yeah. You can follow me on Facebook. My personal Facebook, sorry, I couldn't speak for a second, is Max Steele, MaxSteele. You can follow me on Instagram at Villain Scope Productions. You can also follow me on YouTube at Villain Scope Productions. There you're going to see the films that I talked about, that I made, just by myself in my small one-bedroom apartment. And you can also see a couple other stuff that I'm working on.
End of Shift is on that one. So
that's
pretty nice.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yep.
Well, thanks you guys, and everybody give them a huge round of applause.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Film Impact Georgia is a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing a voice to independent film production in the Peach State. Their focus includes short film grants, development labs, community boosting events, and support services from vendors and mentors. Georgia has diverse and engaging storytellers, and FIG is determined to help break down the barriers to creation in our state. Find more information about the organization and how to get involved at filmimpactgeorgia.org.
All right, introduce yourself and tell us what brings you to the South Georgia Film Festival.
My name is Nathan Banister. I'm a filmmaker, producer, director, writer, and I produced a place called Home, a feature film filmed in Kentucky mostly, and we are here in the South Georgia Film Festival.
Nice. What is a place called Home?
Story about a young man who, young, brash, but feels like he has his life together, and then it all gets upended when his pregnant wife is lost, and he sees his baby kind of who makes it through. He kind of sees the new child as the one that kind of took his wife, so it's kind of struggling with that.
Oh, wow.
His relationship with his older girl, who she's still dealing with grief, has no idea how to comprehend this, and he doesn't know how to like be there for her in that. And then starts dealing with a bunch of financial loss, financial pain. There's some comedic moments, a lot of heart-wrenching moments, and ends up getting involved with a loan shark, so that escalates things a little bit.
Nice.
So yeah, it's overall it's a love story and just kind of finding yourself, finding your place called home.
No, yeah, there you go. There's the title.
There you go.
That's good. No, so you produced it.
Mm-hmm. One of the producers.
One of the producers.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the process of coming on to the project.
Mm-hmm.
Did you just help discover the script, or would just talk about finding this project to produce?
Yeah. So I was a commercial producer up in Virginia. I had been doing that for a few years, got pretty good at it right out of film school. A buddy of mine who we had stayed in contact from film school, he hit me up and was just like, hey, can you read my script? I read it, and he asked for some notes, and he was just like, would you want to help me produce it? And I was like, oh, okay. Found out this was like his 12th draft or something.
Oh, wow.
He had been writing it. It had been on his heart. It's very close. He's a very big like family man, and he was kind of like dealing with the fear of what if my boo was taken? How would I, am I grown up enough and all this stuff? But he's such a loving guy. He actually literally can't come to this festival because he's taking care of his wife for their next child. So
wow. Okay.
He's a good guy through and through.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Kyle Thorlton, if anybody wants to look him up. It's going to be big. So yeah, just from that, he asked me to help him produce it. And I think from there, it kicked off about 8 months. We picked up a lot of people 6 months in. And then just total pre-production for a straight 6 months, very little sleep, constantly doing your day job, and then after hours producing. So producing for work and then producing at home, just constantly met 2-3 times a week. Absolutely insane hours. But when it came time to filming, it went well. I still put out some fires, but it was great. It was great. Yeah.
Well, okay.
Wonderful
We'll talk about some of those said fires. That's the stuff I like to hear about. Like what is maybe one example of a fire that you had to put out? Maybe something specifically that you just did not expect to come up. Yeah.
I joke with him that I'm still never going to tell him some of the stuff, but it was certain personality things. You want to make sure everybody's protected. He's protected. The actors are protected. The crew is protected. And every now and then people want to come on set that aren't invited, or making sure all your contracts are set up. People that thought you weren't supposed to be there on a certain day, you are ready to, like, I got called in, Nate, we need that contract real fast. I drove to the place real fast because I was also UPMing. So I show up with the contract, dish it out, like the owner had signed it, but I don't know, it was forgot to tell the manager or something like that. And we were good to go the whole rest of the day. They were like, oh yeah, you're totally welcome. And it was just one of those, everybody wanted to be responsible for what they thought they were responsible over. And so they thought keeping us out was one thing, but we were able to deliver the contract. So always have your contract signed and ready to go.
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, we'll talk about that from the perspective of maybe some of the young filmmakers here, because I've produced stuff too.
Yeah.
And then you can only do so much. You know, you can only do so much. Well, example I like to throw out is we were shooting a web series, and the day before we were supposed to go shoot at Kennesaw State University, they had changed their policy. We didn't know, and they required us to. There was a fee and different contracts and stuff, and we were ready to go there.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, we have this new policy, and if you don't get this in time, you can't shoot here."
Yeah.
And like the story is around this student at Kennesaw State
Oh,
University.
my goodness.
And like we're ready to go. And luckily by like it was like 11 o'clock the night before the shoot, we got everything figured out. But there was no way for us to know obviously that. So just talk about having maybe foresight into the kind of problems that could show up and dealing with them on the day of.
Yeah. Get a first good aid, I would say if you can find a really good AD, assistant director to help you schedule and everything is so crucial. We had Adam Bova. He's exceptional at what he does. Look him up. He's going to be big also. He was exceptional in the pre-planning stage because he was another producer and first AD on our shoot. And because we were told that we were filming during a season in Kentucky where there is never any rain, we were super ready for no rain until the rain came right when we were supposed to film everything. But because of who Adam Bova is, he was able to, he had already planned for the inevitable. We had talked about a bunch of different like film days and stuff. And so we were able to reset so many of the days and then just juggle, because when you plan on success for one level, Murphy's Law, I'm sure you've heard of it. If it can go wrong, it will. And it did. But if you got multiple levels of planning and pre-production ready to go, it's not even juggling at that point. It's really just reassembling because you've already planned multiple avenues to get yourself out of a hole. So we got the whole film done in a month on the day because we didn't go over budget, we didn't go over time, and we got everything we needed because we planned on plan. So
Nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of pre-planning, a lot of budgeting, just having everything ready to go, all done in pre-production. So when it comes on the day, you just get to play. It's playtime. So
Yeah.
structured playtime. But
Well, talk about finding projects. Maybe scriptwriters out there listening to this, they think, man, I'd love to have a producer like you pick my project up and go make it. Like, how do those connections happen? What's your advice on that?
man, finding, I guess, to get it made is the end game. Is that what you're asking?
or just get any interest at all, because that's tough in itself.
I would say, first of all, if you are a scriptwriter, have a good script. Have multiple people read it. Definitely submit it to, I'm blanking out on where you need to, but make sure that it's under your name, kind of copyright kind of stuff. Mail it to yourself if you need to, the poor man's copyright. But you need some kind of evidence to prove that you are the owner. And so people don't steal your ideas.
Yeah,
but
copyright office is way easier now than it used to be.
Yes,
it used to be
cheaper too.
But the website, the website is very easy to use now. Finally,
yeah, right. And there's multiple ones now. I think there's a East Coast and a West Coast.
Yeah, the WGA. Yeah.
So having that first, then getting people that you trust. We luckily had a professor from Warner Brothers. We had some other people who were very good professionals in their field. Using your faculty, anybody, like you're in a university right now, your faculty has connections. Use those while you're here. I would definitely encourage you not to waste time. If you are a student, you have so many more resources than you do once you're out. Like, you are literally paying for those resources, and keep those relationships open. Treat people well, because you never know who is going to make it in the future. And if you're friends with them, they're going to look out for your buddy who's looked out for them in the past more than they are somebody who's been talking smack about them for no reason, out of insecurity. Like, it's just a weird thing that happens with human nature, that you just don't want to promote people that treat you like garbage. So just be good to people. When you're working on stuff, maybe prove yourself through proof of concept. I saw an awesome proof of concept last night that now I want to see the feature film. And that is a ticket card to say, all right, well, this guy already has talent. Whoever wrote the script, you can tell there is structure there. You can see where they're going with it. The cinematography is good. So making those connections now, I would say like a short film like you guys have done, like that is kind of a business card. That's a calling card. And the more you shop that around, the more you'll make connections with producers, with people that are much higher up than me. But also distribution is the one thing, if I could encourage anybody to look at before you start filming, that will save you headaches later on. And that is a whole game for another time. But yeah, it's huge. It's what do you want to do with your film? So
any questions? Well, where can we find information about yourself and your film and any future projects you want to shout out?
So Nathan Banister, I'm working on a biker film now and a war film, and those will hopefully be filming in the next 2 to 3 years. We're still budget reliant, but we are in talks for some nice things coming up. The website for A Place Called Home is you just look on Facebook for A Place Called Home feature film. You'll find it. We have posts. We've won a few things so far. We might have some good updates for you shortly. And then Nathan Banister, I'm on IMDb. If you have any questions, we can chat it up later.
Cool. Oh, wait, we have a question right here.
My question would be, what is the highest budget short film or film you have ever shot?
Highest short film budget that I've ever shot, I think it was about $1,500 because it was a human trafficking film that ripped me to shreds the more I researched, and we had to go with an ending that was a little more real and a little less Hollywood, just out of conviction, to get people angry, to get people fighting it. But it is that's called One, if y'all want to look that up. But it was really hard to get that budget, but once we had it, a lot of people really believed in the film. A lot of people were very stressed out by the topic, and we were trying to make it real, but also presentable to audiences that were younger at the same time, not like super young, obviously, but that could handle a little action flick and stuff, because there is a little bit of, people on the run and stuff like that. But it was also a lot of connections. If you can get connections and treat people well, represent them well in the film, you sometimes can cut on costs. We had a drone shot that a guy just asked for a little credit and asked for, I think it was like a McDonald's breakfast sandwich or something. So, and I was very poor at the time, so that like $5 it hurt so bad, but we got freaking drone shots, that worked great for the film. So, $1,500 I think is what we landed on that.
And my last question would be, since you're a producer, right?
Yeah.
So do you think like budget matters more or talent matters more?
I would say between budget and talent, sometimes those are related. You're not going to be able to get higher talent unless the budget is there to pay them. You can always work deals, but for our next stuff, we are trying to get bigger talent because we want to get more eyes on it. We want to sell the story. The war film is a true story. The biker story is a very cultural story. So we want to honor all parties, but to get those right people, I think if you can get a good actor that might not be well known, especially at a lower level, I think that is the way to go. But if you are trying to, you do need something of a budget. Cameras are important to have. If you have access to a decent camera, some kind of visual, but phones these days also take some pretty good imagery. So I would say if you have a very nice phone with a nice camera, get a good actor. And then everything else is possibly negotiable. Locations, through relationships, just offering certain things, maybe credit in the film, advertising, putting their name on it, especially if it's a good heartwarming film. I know a lot of people want to give more money to heartwarming films right now too. So, and maybe actors are just like, oh my gosh, the world is so stressed out. I want to use my talent as a beacon of hope to others. I'll do that, but I won't do this sketchy thing, kind of thing. So they're going to, between two options, if you're the film of hope and encouragement and uplifting people, I think they're going to lean more towards that. So it's all juggle, it's all a relationship, but if they trust you and you've made films previously that show that you're going to cater to people's needs, that you are going to treat them well, and you've got a good track record, I think they're going to look back highly on you, and then you might have some avenues open up. So, yeah. and then shop that around film festivals where you make more connections. So build those relationships. Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. Everybody give him a huge round of applause.
Thanks for having me. Keep making good films.
The AFC Indie Filmmaking Podcast is produced by Zombie Cat Productions and Tranquil Aggression Productions. Your host is Chuck Thomas from AtlantaScreenwriter.com. Editing is by Joshua Goldkey. Find him at AtlantaFilmmaking.com. Music and event recording is by Michael Breezy Keys Jones. He is found at LDXSoundLabs.com. Zombie Cat Productions is owned by Molly Coffee. You can find it at ZombieCatPro.com and her at MollyCoffeeDesign.com. I am your announcer, Rob Scheimer. I can be found on SoundCloud. My profile name is ROBSHIMER. Thanks to our media partners at CinemaATLMagazine.com, and thank you for listening. Grab all our episodes at AFCIndieFilm.com.